everybody. This is Nicole.
And this is Lenee, and this is live from 1985, the podcast. Welcome, y'all, back to another episode. Today, our episode is going to be based on flaws. So, we're going to be super vulnerable with y'all and let y'all kind of into what we think our flaws are and, what we're doing to improve on that. It's going to be a good show. In our A Million Opinion segment, we're going to get into some conversation about pretty privilege and what that means and what that looks like. You ready for today's show?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I'm ready to go.
All right, Nicole. Well, let's get it kicked off. So my first question to you is going to be, what physical and non-physical flaw don't you like about yourself and why?
The first physical flaw that I will say I have learned to like it about myself. I used to not like it. I'm still sort of adjusting what is my stomach. And even from when I hit puberty, and yeah, we finna get real vulnerable and real deep because this. So when I hit puberty and hair started coming, everywhere, I also had hair on my stomach. Now, when I was young, I've never been, when I was young, I wasn't overweight or anything. I, had a really flat stomach and everything like that, but I would not show it. Like I never wore two pieces. I never wore the little tummy shirt that they had or the little halter top and things like that because I had a hairy stomach. Now, I wasn't allowed to shave until I left my house. My parents, as we've talked about in the previous podcast, I lived with my mom during my high school years, and she did not want me shaving at all. She's like, if you want to shave, you can shave when you leave my house. So I couldn't shave. I didn't shave my legs, under my arms, nothing. So I had the hair on my stomach, and I was very, very self-conscious of it. And I have an outie, that too. And I would see all these girls with belly button rings and stuff. I'm like, that is not going to be cute with hair and an outie. So skip forward, started college. And I started shaving, but I still had the outie. So I was still very self-conscious of it. Finally, when I became self-conscious of it, finally when I was able to become more comfortable with it, I got pregnant. When I was in college, I did ROTC and I worked out a lot and I got really toned and I was like kind of feeling myself. I, for a short while, would wear like kind of some short halter tops or something. And then I got pregnant. And then I got stretch marks. So I had a hairy, stretch marky, belly button outie stomach. So that's my physical flaw. That's the one thing I've always been really self-conscious about over anything. And I've learned to definitely embrace it. Now, you probably still won't see me out anywhere with no halter top, but I used to hide it even in front of myself and my husband. And he's gotten me very comfortable with, being naked, in front of him and, myself, looking at myself in the mirror. Now, my non-physical flaw, this is a difficult one. My non-physical flaw, I'd have to say, is my probably my tendency to speak before I think. That's another thing, I've gotten a lot better at that, but I used to have a very bad habit of just saying whatever came to my mind without thinking about it, thinking about the consequences, thinking about how it can hurt people. I have a very bad habit of just having diarrhea of the mouth. And I learned very quickly, and this is a flaw that I found out from other people because that's what they would say to me. Like, I can't believe, people would tell me how I would say something and it kind of hurt them. So that's something I'm still working on too, but definitely that is a flaw that I am I wouldn't say I'm self-conscious of it, but I don't like it because I know I'm hurting people in the process of me having that flaw. So got that off my chest. What about you?
But hold on, I have a question for you. So when you say stuff like that, is it rude or is what you're saying true and needs to be said?
That's a good question. So here's where a lot of times I feel like I live or I'm from a different paradigm, you know, like it's crazy. I feel, I don't want to, I try to get away from the word I feel, but I used to have this idea that if I say something to you, it is what is going on. You know, it's, so for example, I'll use this example. So we were at a gathering at my family's house, and my sister and her husband was there, my brother-in-law. We were playing Taboo, and we were talking about, you know, we're trying to get people to guess the word. He said something that was just crazy, off the wall. You know, it just did not match with anything what were going on. And I said, I said, you've got to be dumb as a box of rocks, you know, and I said it in a jokingly way. Obviously, I didn't literally mean you're dumb as a box of rocks. He can be a little dense, you know, but it not in, you know, a bad way. He's just, you know, sometimes has I don't want to say a male way of thinking. Like, he's very into sports. He's very into, you know, things that most typical men are into. And the topic we were talking about was, I forgot what it was. But I said that, and, you know, my, out of all people, my dad, because this is where I get this diarrhea of the mouth from. My dad took me aside. He was like, you know, you really shouldn't have said that. You hurt his feelings. And I was like, damn, for real? Like, I didn't mean to, you know. I feel bad. I didn't apologize about it, but I realized I shouldn't have said that. Now, other times, other examples are relationships that I've been in. And if I get mad, I'll say some stuff. And to me, I've never said really a lot of what has really been on my mind. But I'll say some stuff and I'll get like, hey, you hurt my feelings. Like, what are you, that you cut me deep. And I be thinking, like, I didn't even say half of really what's really on my mind. And my thing is, if you say it to me, it will hurt me in that moment, but I let it go. I don't hold on to stuff really. And we had talked about this before, I don't really have like memories of really bad experiences. You know, there's some experiences that I remember that are kind of, you know, bad, but for the most part, if somebody has said something to me or done something to me, it's not like I'm like now, yeah, I remember that one time, ooh, that mother, I barely remember it because I feel like in that moment you chose to do what you did. And I believe in karma. Me still thinking about it is not going to harm you. It's only going to harm me. You know, it's only making my life. But anyway, the point, in my mind, it's okay to say it. You know, that was my idea of thinking. Like, it's what I'm thinking. You know, it's what's going on in my mind. I don't want to lie to you. I want to be real with you, but I realize people can't take some things that you say to them. And just because I feel like I can, or it's easier for me to let it go, I have to realize it's not as easy for other people, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. That's interesting. I had to ask because I'm like, I don't see you as that type of person at all. Like, I can't even remember, you know, through the time that we've known each other, an instance in which I thought that about you. So I'm like, that's why I had to ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's usually when I'm really, really angry, I can say some really hurtful stuff. And the funny, like I said, the funny thing is I've thought way worse stuff. I've thought way worse stuff, and I don't say it because I'm like, these people can't take it. They cannot take it. And it's crazy to me because I'm like, I can take that. It'd hurt, but then I'd be like, oh well, whatever. Didn't physically hurt me, but anyway. So what about you?
Okay, so my physical thing would definitely be my skin. My skin, I've had issues with since I was in high school, off and on, acne. Also, I have something called PCOS, which affects my hormones, which affects my skin. So the only time I feel like I have really, really good skin or okay skin is when I'm eating like on a very strict diet. When I do that, my skin tends to clear up and be glowing and look better, but I still have a lot of scarring from just years of having acne. And I've actually had two different guys tell me that I would be more unapproachable, or I guess a better rated woman, if I didn't have bad skin. So it's always been something that's in the back of my mind, like, okay, people can see this and they're judging me for it. So at this point, like, I don't have acne as bad as I did have when I was younger, but I still have a lot of scars. And every once in a while, my skin will just go crazy. I don't know why. I don't know what brings it on, but it'll just like, and I'll bump up all over the place, and it'll go away. It'll get real dry, kind of go away, but then it'll leave like a lot of scarring. So then I have to deal with that, and I'm trying to get, an even tone going on. So that's always been my number one thing, is that, and probably my hair, because my hair is really thin. And so when it's permed, it just sits on my head. And when it's natural, it's just like, it only gets to a certain length, and it doesn't really, I don't have I've worn my hair in a ponytail like a lot of my life. So my hair goes back, so it's just like my hairline is like, and my forehead is big. I got issues, but a lot of those issues, they don't bother me as much anymore. But if you had to ask me, what don't you like, it would definitely be that. And I'm a little hairy too. So I know how you felt about that. And I was allowed to shave, but I wish I didn't start shaving, because now I feel like I have to shave all the time because I started shaving when I was younger. But I had those same issues, like my hair grows in very long and thick, and I have to constantly shave, like really every other day, because if not, once the prickly start coming in, like you can see it because the hair is so dark. So it's an ongoing thing, but it's just been so long. It's just like something that I just know I have to do. So my non-physical thing, I would say that I am very much a one-track mind kind of person. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, because I read this article one time that said that people shouldn't be trying to multitask, and everybody wants to be this queen of or king of multitasking. And it's like such a good skill to have, but to me, it's like getting half of a lot of things done. You know what I mean? If I do things better when I can focus my attention all on one thing. And my mom used to always say, if she's watching TV, don't say nothing to her, because she's not going to hear you. And it's true, because if I'm into something, it's like there's a beam around me and nothing can penetrate it. You know what I mean? Like I'm in my own world. But I personally don't think that's all that bad of a thing, because I like to focus on something. I like to give all my attention to one thing at one time. But I guess, when it's necessary to do multiple things, I don't feel like I do that well. I feel like I do something well when all my attention is on that thing, and I can do multiple things within that thing, if that makes sense. But if you try to be like, hey, I need you to hammer this over here and change this baby's diaper and vacuum over here, I'm like, hey, you're not getting that shit done, because it's too much, one thing at a time, but other than that, a non-physical flaw, sometimes it's kind of the same thing. I have a hard time listening, and I don't listen well. And sometimes it's to my detriment, because I want to form good relationships, and a lot of that and communication has to do with listening, but that is something that I'm aware that I'm not as good as, and I'm working on it. But I always tell people, out of the 5 senses, hearing, not good for me. I'm very good at smelling. If you need anything smelled, let me know. Other than that, hearing, touching, all those other stuff, hey, that ain't for me. But I could definitely smell whatever you need. So that's kind of always been like my little thing.
So when so do you shave like everywhere? Do you shave in your entire body?
So it depends. I have moments. I shave my legs, I shave my thighs, I shave my stomach, and sometimes I shave the top of the girl, but sometimes I let the bottom of the girl just do her. I shave under my arms maybe like once every 6 months. So for the most part, I have hair under my arms, and I wax my face because I'm just hairy all over. So, also I have PCOS, which makes facial hair grow a little bit more, but I've been waxing it for so long, it doesn't grow in as dark anymore. But still every 6 weeks, like I have a wax machine, I own it. I just pluck away my eyebrows, all of that, get that done. And so I try not to be like my legs, really, that's my main thing, is just my legs, because like when you wear shorts or a dress, like you can see it, but other places, if you can't see it, I let it go.
So my question, I have another question. What makes you feel the need to shave your legs?
I don't like how it looks. It's like very dark hairs that get long, like it's unsightly to me. I can feel it, especially when it's coming back. It's prickly, so it gotta go.
Where do you think that came from?
You know what? I remember shaving for the first time, and my mom was overseas, and my older sister was taking care of us, while my mom was overseas. So she had a razor in the bathroom, and I don't even think I had hair on my legs at this time, but I took it and I just started using it, and I nicked myself. And so I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm bleeding. She's like, well, how'd you start bleeding? I'm like, oh, I fell. And she's like, in the bathtub? And I'm like, yeah, well, I fell earlier and I re-damaged it. You know what I mean? She's like, nah. She's like, did you use that razor? My skin was still in it. So she was like, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, I did, So that was like my first experience. And I kind of got in trouble. I was like in 4th or 5th grade, but as I got older, I just noticed that I had really, really dark hairs on my legs, and like, if I could see it, it gotta go.
I mean, like why is it unsightly? Where did that come from?
I don't know. And I'm trying to trace it back to something, but I honestly don't know. I don't remember anyone telling me like, hey, you should do that, or hey, you shouldn't do it. I might have seen it on TV, because I'll be honest, I watched a lot of TV when I was younger, and a lot of my ideology were based off of TV. So yeah, it probably had to come from that, honestly. But I honestly don't even know. No one ever told me like, you should or shouldn't have this, though.
Yeah, definitely. With the shaving of the legs, since I was, very much more hairy than other, young girls, because my hair started coming in probably earlier. When everybody went through puberty at around 12, and I went through it too, I got hairy, taller, and a big butt. Like I didn't get any boobs. I just got hair, hips, and butt. And I remember I would hear other girls talking about shaving their legs. But there was no real reason why. They would just say it's ugly, ooh, you hairy, or, things like that. And I, thinking about it now, I think, where did that come from, And my mom was the exact opposite. She was like, God gave it to you for a reason. So what are you taking it off for? Why, if you were born with it, why get rid of it? So I had that perspective from her. My dad, I don't think he was really for it or against it. I think he just, like, that's what you want to do. But I wasn't really with him during my puberty years. So, but I always wondered where did that unsightliness come from? Like, where did that ideology?
I wish I did know, so I can trace it back to why did I think that? But at that time, I didn't know I had PCOS. I didn't know that my hair was going to naturally grow in darker and thicker and, get kind of longer. But I think at some point I knew that like guys had hairy legs and women didn't. You know what I mean? And so maybe I equated it to it being a masculine thing. So I'm like, in order to be feminine, I got to get rid of this.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point too. I think that's a very good point. I think having hairy legs is being equated to being a man. And even recently, when I got my massage therapy license, I remember me and a couple of therapists were talking, and this one therapist, she was like, oh my goodness, the one thing I hate about massaging guys is I hate how hairy they are. So I was like, well, I guess you won't be massaging me because I'm hairy. And she kind of like froze up. She was like, oh, well, no, for a woman, it's different. I'm like, But that's a good point. I think that's the ideology, is people equate hair to men, hair on the body to men. When
right.
it's common for girls like my daughter now, which I was like that as a kid. I had hair down, I had hair on my back. I mean, I had hair everywhere, little small hairs on my chest, not, like men hairs, but just
Right.
like the real fluffy light hairs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I look at my daughter now. She's got I had long sideburns. I still have them. And I remember when I used to get relaxers, this lady used to shave them off, and I hated it because I realized I had sideburns for so long when she shaved it. It was all light, right?
I have long sideburns too, and I shave those too. Like they gotta go, and it's because they don't go with anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like my hairline stops, and then it's just like random, and they're scraggly too. Nah, girl, I can't. No.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm very much a fan of makeup. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
like it just ain't good. Let me
Yeah, I
ask you
guess.
this. Do you really think that surgeries and physical altercations that people are into getting these days, the lip injections and the nose jobs and all of that,
BBLs and
but
all that.
BBLs and
Mhm.
titties done, all that. Do you think it really boosts confidence?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think we talked about this before. It definitely only boosts your public image because when you change something on the outside, the only people notice are the people in the public. You know, if you were changing something for yourself, you wouldn't showcase it. If you got a BBL and then you wear tight clothes, you're showcasing it for the public. So I really like that, and I will make sure I give him credit, Dr. Umar Johnson. I don't know if he coined that phrase, but I heard it from him. It boosts your public image. It boosts your public image only, your public image only, not your self confidence or your self esteem. To me, self or confidence is something that you are competent in having because you know that you have it. You don't have to have validation from anybody else. That's what confidence is. You know your worth, you know what you're good at, you know how you look, you're proud of what you have, and you don't need anybody else telling you any different. Now, the bleed over to arrogance is if somebody tells you that you don't have it, you shut them down and you don't listen. Confidence is still you know what you have and you're proud of it. But if somebody says, "Nah, you don't have that," you can step back and be like, let me check into that. Maybe I don't, from the public's perspective. But yeah, I think getting all that stuff done is only, I'd say, but it's a self-serving purpose. It's to get more of whatever you're not receiving, whether it be compliments or I don't know. I've never had any of that stuff done. So I don't know if people get free stuff. I don't know, but you're getting something from someone else when you get those type of procedures. And mostly it's, the likes and the thumbs up and, "Ooh, girl, look at you." And I guess maybe looks from guys. So I don't think so. But do you think that?
I mean, I think it does boost self-confidence and self-esteem, but momentarily. It's not something
Okay.
that's gonna last. But I think initially, hell yeah, you pay all that money to feel like $1 million fucking. And I feel like these chicks do feel like $1 million. But the attention that they're getting is not the attention that I feel like they want. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Who wants to just be a sexual object? Maybe some women do. I don't know. But I feel like a lot of these women want attention from men. They want attention from women. They want to feel good. But at the same time, you're an object now. You know what I
But,
mean? And
yeah.
and let me give you an example. I heard this girl talking, I think her name was, I don't even remember her name. She's a social media person. But she was saying when she goes to the airport, now mind you, this girl had a BBL. She has big boobs. She has a very nice body. But she says she wears this long coat when she goes to the airport. She don't want people staring at her ass. And I'm like, you pay all that money for it. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, you might as well put it out there. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. At some point, that shit gets old because
Yeah.
everyone's looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, and even the women who are naturally like that, I feel like they carry it differently than the women who went and got it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's just a thing of, you have to really figure out, why are you getting that? Why do you
Yeah.
want this? Is it something that you've seen? Because I remember a long time ago, only white women got plastic surgery. It was
Yeah.
unheard of for Black women to get plastic surgery,
Yeah.
especially nose jobs and lip fillings. And Black women didn't do that. Filler in your face, like, girl, what is going on? So it also comes into, what standard of beauty are you trying to match, sis?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it comes down to, my next question is, what do you think is beautiful? What is beauty to you? That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah. So I'll answer that question first. I think beauty is a very the best word I can think of is like it's a finicky or a gray area. Um, there's all sorts of saying, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder and all this stuff. But I think the only thing that is truly beautiful in this world is anything that was made naturally. Anything that was naturally made by whatever deity any person believes in, even if you're agnostic, it was still made by something. It still came from somewhere, or atheist or whatever, but everything was made by something, and whatever you believe in, the things that are made naturally, to me, that's beautiful. But if you have to synthesize or upgrade or add or take away, if you have to do anything extra, to me, that's enhancement. That's not beauty. You're enhancing something. And that includes cars and houses and all that material stuff too. That's enhancing who you are. And to me, that I think people should really reflect on, if you have to do these things, do you really, like you said it gives you confidence momentarily, but yeah, it's fleeting, then you're still looking to do something more, and for someone to say, oh, I've got a bunch of self-confidence and self-esteem, but if you've had to enhance yourself, do you really? If you've had to change what you naturally look like, even people who have scars on their face or whatever, to me, beauty is you embracing and having confidence in who you, naturally are and what you naturally look like. But I wanted to touch on what you were saying before with these, when we didn't get those enhancements, our people never did that. And that's where that kind of European standard of what beauty should look like. Because I remember, I forgot, I think it was Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm not sure which artist. Please do not quote me. I'm not sure. But there's an artist who did a lot of their sculpting and a lot of their paintings, and they did it very geometrically sound. Like they like literally made sure there was right angles and stuff like that in the face. And they say, oh, well, that's beauty. No, that's symmetry. And it is catching to the eye. I'm not going to lie about that. Symmetry allows people to, well, it's actually both ends of the spectrum. Symmetry and chaos both makes the eye kind of catch it. So you either if you have like a really distorted kind of messed up face, you'll look twice, or if you have a really symmetrical face, you'll kind of look twice. But it doesn't mean it's beautiful. It just means it's something that catches your eye. So I hate to be cliche, but beauty is kind of in the eye of the beholder. I can't tell everyone that they should think that everything natural is beautiful, but I caution people who think enhancements are beautiful, because it's not real. It's not something that, it's just like saying, is processed food good for you? you know, like, no. Because
And the bad thing about that, a lot of that stuff, it's not a one-time thing. It's maintenance to that
yeah,
shit. You
yeah,
got to keep up with that shit. So
yeah,
if you want to be fake, you got to take that lifestyle all the way and be prepared to like really drop some money on your appearance only.
yeah. And it's very, people don't understand, you know, I did a lot of studying because when I came back from Texas, a lot of BBL was big, it's real big in the South, really big in Florida. And it's starting to move up here, you know, but there's not a lot of therapists who do, once you get a BBL, you have to get lymphatic drainage. And there wasn't a lot of therapists who do that. So I was banking it. But anyway, I had to learn what happens to the body when you get liposuction, you know, and you're literally damaging the tissue. You're damaging the fascia. You know, you have your skin, there's you know, several layers to your body. And there's a type of, I should say, skin, it's called fascia, that's right underneath the, and I don't want to, but it's right underneath your skin. It's between your skin and your muscle. And it kind of keeps it together, it keeps your muscles from sliding everywhere. And when they're jamming that thing into you, taking that fat out, it could damage that, you know? So now you're at the point where you have scar tissue underneath your skin. You have scarred your fascia to where, and it's not repairable. You know, it's imagine getting a third-degree burn. You know, that's there forever. Same as if you get a C-section, they say, yeah, you probably continue to get C-sections because you scarred that tissue. And now, if you get a BBL, you get liposuction and things like that, it's more difficult for you to lose weight naturally. So like you said, now you have maintenance. You've lost weight unnaturally, so now you have to continue to lose weight unnaturally. And that blows my mind. That's the same thing when people get the stomach, like they staple their stomach or they get the sleeve or anything like that.
Gastric bypass? Gastric bypass?
Some type of, yeah. Now you have to continue to do that. You know, when you do these things to your body, there's consequences. And I don't mean consequences in just bad, but there's actions that happen with the action that you take. So, or reactions that happen to the actions that you take. And women who get that gastric bypass and stuff like that, it doesn't change how you eat. that trips me out as yes, it's going to make you lose weight. Oh, most
and the
definitely.
crazy thing is, it doesn't even change them. They still look in the mirror and see that fat person. You know, so it's like you did all of that, put your body through all of this anguish just to
trauma,
look skinnier without doing the work. And now you still seeing yourself as them because none of this has changed. You didn't work on the way you see yourself at all. You just changed the way others see you.
So I have to say this real quick.
Say.
I'm watching something that's becoming big is what they call, what are they calling them? Permanent lock extensions. So I was Googling because I'm trying to find some new, styles for my locks because I need to do something new. It's starting to be getting close to summertime, springtime, and my hair gets heavy and it's hot. So I was trying to find some updos and I see all these permanent lock extension videos. So I click on one and it says, I click on a couple of, and they look like, I cannot tell. And of course it's our people. I cannot tell that is fake. So that tripped me out at first. But I clicked on this one and she says, why not to get the permanent lock extensions? And she's talking about how you can never, the hair that they use is never a perfect match to your own natural hair. It's just not, because they're getting this real hair from random places, which is scary enough for me. Like, has anybody asked where this real hair comes from? But I'll come back to that. So the match is never right. And sometimes it slips out, she's naming off all these things, but then she says, and the main thing that you're going to have to come up against is people asking you, how come you just couldn't go the natural way? And that was my question. Why didn't you just wait? It's literally just having patience. That's it. And she's like, don't worry about them. You do you. People want to, so what, you took the shortcut. They just mad they didn't take the shortcut, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, she's really feeding this to these people. Like, do you know the actual confidence and self-worth and self-love and just the really good endorphins that are released when you've done something and you've taken the time? Like, this took time for my hair to get like this.
Yeah.
And it feels great. And somebody else comes along and they're like, oh, yeah, this was 2 weeks, 2 weeks this long, girl. And it's like, yeah, it kind of makes you feel like, nah, you cheated.
Yeah, like they cut you in line, like, hey, I'm all the way up here. You just got here. What do you mean? How'd you get to the front of the line?
Right. And it kind of, I was listening to her and, she's talking about, don't worry about them and do you. And as long as you feel good about yourself. And it just trips me out that people think like that. Like, we've lost the will to have effort in doing anything. Everything is a shortcut.
Insecurity.
Yeah.
People think they're going to look ugly with the short dreads. The starter dreads, people honestly, and I'm just being real. Somebody got to say it. This is why people go straight to those extensions, because they want them longer, because they don't want to have the starter ones because they think they're ugly. Not only that, if you have a corporate job, I know you'd be scared to walk into your corporate job with some starter locks and then you have them for several months. So it's society, it's a personal thing, it's people thinking they're going to look ugly, it's a personal thing, but that's why.
But you know what? That's where true confidence comes in. Because now I didn't have starter locks. I did the big chop. So I cut all my hair off. It wasn't a fade, but it was like a 1/4 inch of hair. And I was natural for about 4 years. So my hair it was probably right at shoulder length before I locked it. But my hair shrinks real bad. Mm-hmm. So when I locked it, it was still looking like starter locks. My hair was literally like sticking out sometimes all over the place because they were starting to compact. And I had to go through that. I had to go through mostly the most annoying statement I would get is, are those twists? Are those 2-strand twists? You trying to lock your hair? And it wasn't what they said, it was how they said it. Mm-hmm. Are those 2-strand twists?
Like with disgust.
Yeah. Are you trying to lock your hair? What's going on? But I had the confidence to be like, oh no, they're locks. I'm locking my hair. I had the confidence in myself to know, you know what? I like this. This is what I like. I'm doing this. Not only is not just an aesthetic reason, but there's a purpose behind it too. Because when I started finding out, your hair is an extension of your integumentary system. It's an extension of your nervous system. So, I started growing my hair for that reason too. And I had confidence. So I went through it for about a year and a half before my hair started actually, people were like, oh, wow, look, it looks good and all that other stuff. But I wasn't looking for that. If you're looking for that, then to me, that's where you took a wrong turn. If you're not doing something to your body that is outward, people are going to see it as your appearance. If you're not doing it for your own specific reasons and you're worried about what other people think, then that's the wrong way of thinking to me. Then you're not going to do it. Stop giving a damn. And I know this kind of goes back, it sounds like what she was saying, stop caring what people think. But I agree with that part, but you're also damaging your hair. Because every video that I saw, they're taking this hair from where? Probably dead people. Oh, and hair has energy. Your hair, they can go get hair from a person right now, been dead 20 years, and tell if they smoked weed or did crack. Or, your hair holds a lot. It has DNA. Your hair has DNA. You're literally putting somebody else's DNA in your hair. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Let me.
And I wear weave, and I'm like,
well, so here's the thing. Weave is different. Weave is synthetic. The synthetic weave is different. It's literally, I don't want to say it's plastic, but it's a type of man-made material. But I tell people, if you're going to wear synthetic hair, just make sure you wash it really good. I don't like synthetic hair at all, but I'd almost rather have people wear synthetic hair than real hair, or whatever they call it, natural hair, whatever, because you're literally putting somebody. And the way the lady did a documentary on this, she tried to trace back where they're getting this hair from, and they can't find it. So they're thinking that they're getting it out of sewers, out of people's, tubs, and just, going up to random people and chopping it off. Now, they did find one distributor that the women were actually cutting off their hair. They were growing it and cutting it off and donating it or selling it or whatever.
Right. But that's very expensive.
Right.
Let me tell you something. I worked at a hair store for 6 years. Mm-hmm. You know where they're getting that shit from?
Where?
Animals.
Like the real hair?
Absolutely. That's where that shit comes from. They mix it with what they call human hair, which is really just a better fiber that, because you notice how, well, I don't know if you ever wore weave like that, but I wore weave for years because I worked at the hair store. So it was like, you got to kind of wear what you're promoting. So I asked the boss one day, he's Korean. And so I'm just like, so is this really human hair? And he was like, no. He was like, it's basically a really good fiber, like better than the synthetic fiber that's, you can put heat to, mixed with animal hair. So when people used to call this shit horse hair, I don't know why they stopped doing that, because that's literally what it is. It's animal hair, most of it. You know what I mean? So that's where that shit's coming from.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Now, again, I've worn, I guess it was a glue-in. I don't know. She glued it. She like slicked my hair back with gel.
Yeah.
And then glued hair on top of it. I did that
one
time.
Was it on a weft, the hair?
No, she did it on top of my hair, which everybody was like, she shouldn't have did that.
No, I mean the hair itself. So a track is going to come on a weft.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a long strip of hair that she had.
Were you able to curl it?
Probably, but I didn't.
Okay, it's like probably some type of animal hair in it. And I'm not saying it's all animal hair, but it is more than 50%. And that's what he basically told me, like, yeah, all this hair is that. And he even told me, like, you shouldn't be wearing this shit. And I'm like, oh.
That's crazy.
I'm still gonna wear it.
But you know what? So this is what trips me out. Women will hear that and say that.
You know what? But I eventually did stop wearing it. It took me a while to get there, though, because that was my norm. You know, like, someone can find out they have lung cancer and not stop smoking the next day. If you've been smoking for 50 years, it's kind of like, if that's your thing, that's your norm, that's what you're used to, someone telling you some crazy information about it won't make you stop doing it immediately, always. You know what I mean? Took me some time to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I might want to rethink that. And so now I wear a lot of synthetic hair, but for the most part, I wear my own hair, but I am going to add a little something in because, like I said, my hair is very thin and I can't really do much with it. Like, I would love to have dreads, but my hair is literally not even thick enough to do dreads. My dreads would be so like, it would be bad because my shit is just, it's just not, my mom hates when I say thin. My hair is fine. I have very fine hair and it's also fine and 4C, so it's a coarser texture, but it's fine. So I just prefer to have a little height in my hair, to kind of offset all this forehead I got going on. So that's just my personal thing, but it's the same thing with food. You could tell someone, watch a whole video, like what the hell, and see what they're doing and see the condition that the animals live and then still go eat a burger, It takes time, but eventually while I worked at that store, I went natural and I stopped putting everything in my hair. I did a big chop and I wore my own hair. I haven't had a perm in like 10 years, but I started wearing my own hair. It's just my personal preference I guess because I worked in that industry for so long, like I like to have different hairstyles. Like that's just my thing. So I'm still in that world, but I don't wear the human hair as much. I do see it and I think it's beautiful, but like, I know, so.
Why do you think it's beautiful?
It's just, honestly, like if I put a wig on, bitch, you can't say nothing to me. Like let me put a wig on and do my makeup. I'm a whole different chick. And I know it's fake. And it's crazy because when I met my husband, he was like, man, like, I never thought like a girl like you. And I'm like, look, let me tell you something about a girl like me. Like, this is all fake, but I know that. You know what I mean? I'm not catfishing nobody. I know what I am. I know what I look like. I know what my value is. But I just prefer to look different ways at different times. If I'm going out, I'm doing the most. I'm gonna do my makeup beautifully. And you know, I'm a makeup person, so it's not like I don't know what I'm doing. I do even makeup for other people, you know, so it's an art form to me. Hair is an art form. My mom was a cosmetologist, you know, so it's just in me to want to do those things. So it's to me, it's like an expression. It's just like I couldn't imagine me not doing it. And I've went periods of times where I didn't wear weave or I didn't wear makeup and I just did my natural thing, but I feel most comfortable with my makeup and hair done.
So why do you think you feel more comfortable with makeup than without makeup?
I just think it makes me look better.
Why do you think that? Let's
I
dig
don't
deep.
know. Okay. So it has to go back to my mom being a cosmetologist. She was a cosmetology teacher. So I grew up going to work with her, seeing her go to work. She put on makeup every morning, did her hair every morning, left the house in beautiful clothes and heels every morning. Now she might take some flats and change those when she got there, but she was leaving the house in some heels, smelling good. She had her, like, she was always put together. My mom loved to shop. She mostly did thrifting, but she had beautiful things, you know, like
Yeah.
she dressed nice, she did her makeup, she did her hair. But the crazy thing is, she never really taught me how to do that. So I got made fun of a lot in middle school for how I looked, how I dressed. In high school, a little bit, but mainly middle school. Middle school was really hard for me because, you know, it's that awkward phase in your life. You know, I only had one friend, and me and that friend was constantly on the fritz because I was the type of girl where if you're my friend, you know, we can bring new friends in, but we still all got to kind of want the same things in our friendships. She started being friends with kind of people I didn't want to be friends with. So
Mm.
I kind of just, you know, walked away from that situation like, okay, you know, I don't want to take you away from being friends with these other people, but I'm not comfortable being friends with these people. So I kind of got to a point where I had no friends, you know, and I was
Mm.
being made fun of heavily by boys mostly in certain classes. You know, they would draw pictures of me and send them back and forth, and it just like killed my self-esteem. I would eat lunch sometimes by myself in the bathroom or in the counselor's office, and you know, she would always try to big me up, and she would see me and be like, hey, you look really good in red, or you look really nice in yellow. Like, she tried, but it was just like the world around me just wouldn't let me be great, you know, and I was
Yeah.
gaining weight. And you know, my mom was a cosmetologist, but she didn't teach me how to do my hair. So I had got a haircut, but she wouldn't wake up in the morning and curl it for me. I didn't know how to curl it. So I looked crazy, you know, like I just was not a put together chick. And I had very low self esteem. And I had a friend that was very beautiful. And a lot of guys paid attention to her. But I was just like the little scrag along, you know, that was just uncute and being made fun of, you know. So when I got to high school, I was allowed to wear makeup. So I couldn't wait. Like, all right, I'm about to put my makeup on. I'm about to dress better. You know, it was so important to me. And it's still important to me this day. Like, I am a leasing agent. So I wake up in the morning, I put a nice shirt on, I put my slacks on, I have my heels on, I do my makeup, I might have me a wig on, or, you know, I do my hair different ways, but like, there's a certain way that I feel I need to look to be in the face of other people that I'm selling things to or doing business with. When I come home, that wig comes off immediately. It's like an accessory. If I could take that bitch off in my car on the way home, I would. But just in case I gotta stop at the store or something, I won't be looking too crazy, you know. But it means nothing to me when I'm at home. My husband doesn't really care for it, but my self-confidence in a, a business professional setting includes that.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. But at the same time, I've always seen that. I've seen my mom be that lady or that woman that woke up every morning, did her hair, did her makeup. Even right now, my mom is in her 70s, still dyes her hair. You ain't about to see no grays on my mama's head. Okay. Still puts her eyebrows on or whatever. She's going somewhere, still is dressed nice. She still has a very much, status about herself when she goes out in public. And that's what I was taught.
So it's very interesting. And I love the way you explained that. And I think our childhood has a very big impact on our adulthood. Because I had similar, but a little bit, because my parents are military. So I went to 3 different middle schools. Yeah, it was crazy. But the first middle school I went to, we were in Germany, and I was there elementary through middle school. I got picked on because I was flat. Like I said, that was the year everybody went through puberty, and I had nothing. I had nipples. That's it. I had nothing. So I got picked on a lot because I was flat. But the second middle school I went to was here in Illinois. It was a predominantly Caucasian middle school, and I got picked on because of my looks. But it was because I didn't look like them. It wasn't. But there were still times, like there were a couple of our people in the neighborhood that were military, that was our people, and I got made fun of, or I got called ugly, and it really, I think the only thing that saved face for me was I had brothers. I had 2 older brothers who went about that. So a lot of times, if somebody made fun of me or something, they was fighting for me, and my mother, even though I didn't live with her, she was always telling me how beautiful I was. She was always telling me, fuck them, don't get, she was really big on, because I feel like, again, even in middle school or even at early ages, we have this production on TV on what people should look like, even down to the Cosbys. Rudy Huxtable was the cutest little girl, and it's just crazy how if you don't look like these people, then you're considered unattractive. So, it's funny that you mentioned that you had to go through that in middle school. And that sounds really, crazy, until I came, though. After I came, it was all good.
I know, but we really started hanging out more in like 9th grade. You were very quiet and kind of like a loner in 8th grade. And I was kind of going through and I just really accounted to just growing pains,
Yeah.
But the crazy thing was, one of the guys who used to make fun of me, we went to high school together too, but I didn't really see them as much. High school, I really didn't get made fun of on the level I did in middle school. It was more, I could take it when I got in high school. But one of the guys, when I was about 19, I seen him in the club, and there was like this little chair that, it was kind of like a hat. It had a little middle piece, but all around you could sit there. So I was sitting here, and one of the guys happened to be sitting right next to me, and he was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "You don't like me." He's like, "Who said I didn't like you?" I'm like, "You used to make fun of me all the time." He's like, "I did?" Girl, didn't even remember it.
Yeah.
I had been holding on to this for years, just like thinking these people hated me, wanted me dead, whatever. I don't know. Like, made my life a living hell at that time. They didn't even remember. They knew who I was, but they didn't even remember how they made me feel. Only I did, And that's when I was able to let it go.
I kind of disagree. I think they remember. I just don't think they thought it was to the extent that it was. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it was as bad as it was. Because I have a friend, I'm not going to mention, but she was very, very attractive. She was one of those people who did that to other people. She would make fun of them, but she wouldn't, at the time, she wasn't realizing how it hurt them. And I remember when we met, I'm like, why are you talking to them like that? Because the funny thing is, like we talked about in middle school, and even I was a loner because I hated moving. I hated moving because I always got to start over. It's always different. And I thought Texas was really cliquey. Oh my gosh, Texas was the clickiest school I ever went to. I mean, talk about cliques. And I wasn't used to that. Yeah. Most of the schools I have been to before, kind of had cliques, but for the most part, people still, but Texas was like, here's your jocks, and here's your cheerleaders, and here's your nerds. And I'm like, this shit is really like on TV. Like, who
No,
the
it
fuck
really
is this?
was, especially at our school.
Yes. So that's why I was such a loner, because I'm like, I wasn't used to that. I was used to kind of just knowing lots of different people from, whatever. But a lot of the people that I talked to, again, so it was one girl, I used to do her hair, and I did a couple of the cute girl's hair. I braided or whatever, and they paid me. I'm like, you paying me? I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't give a fuck who you know. I want my money. But anyway, I would braid their hair, but one girl in particular, she's very, very gorgeous. She would talk shit, and I'm like, why? For what? What does that do? Oh, it's just playing and fun and joking. And I think in their mind, I'm like, nah, you were hurting these people's feelings. Like, you can't do that. You cannot do that. And that's why I didn't. I remember a couple of times they invited me to some parties. I went to one party. I'm like, never again in my life. Because all they did was sit around and talk about other people. And I'm like, this is not my idea of fun.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because I'm like, I felt like they were literally reliving some type of high school musical that they saw on TV. I'm like, this shit is not real life. Like
Like
this is
Mean Girls?
Yes. I'm like, y'all are acting on y'all are acting in real life like they do on TV, and that shit ain't real. Like, that, right? So even some of the guys, there were a few guys in high school that I liked, but I never really talked to, because I felt, y'all are bogus. Y'all are petty. Y'all going around talking about people. It was one guy I had the hugest crush on. And he even came to me. He was like, I helped him with his homework. I helped him pass fucking English class. But he was on a football team, but I would not talk to him, because I'm like, dude, you're fucking gross. Like, all you do is pick on people. Like, that's not cute. But it was kind of self-serving, because the girls would laugh at the guys picking on the other guys, and the guys would laugh at the girls picking on the girls. And I'm like, this is disgusting. But anyway, I think that to me, they had some inkling that they knew what they were doing, because that's all they had to go off of was their looks. Their looks and their popularity. Again, public appearance. That's all you're worried about, is what you look like to other people. But you get alone with them, and it's nothing. You're not funny. You're not intelligent. You're not smart. You don't have any character. That's why me and you had so much fun. But hanging out with them for a day, I'm like, y'all the most boring ass motherfuckers I've ever. This is ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, I had a great time. Like, once high school came, like I said, like, I really was able to say, you know what, fuck everybody. It is what it is. And I just tried to, figure out who I was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. What are some things that you want to work on and improve about yourself?
I think it's a good question. I'm a 10, girl. I'm perfect.
Sound like someone I know.
Right. I think my biggest thing that I want to work on is being more. I thought I was a very, I don't want to say, I thought I'm a very empathetic person, but I don't think I'm as empathetic as I thought I was. And mainly with my close family. I noticed I'm very empathetic towards strangers, but not as empathetic towards like my close family. I can be a little, especially like my husband. I have to catch myself. I get more critical and analytical of him than I would with a stranger. Like, I remember one time we were arguing about something. There was a guy who said, he was crossing the street and a guy almost hit him. And he was like, that motherfucker did it on purpose. I was like, how do you know? He was like, I just know. So I'm like, but how do you know? And he was like, because the way he looked at me, he saw me crossing the street and he did it on purpose. So I was saying, well, you don't know. Maybe he saw you at the last minute, and he was like, you're defending him. And I'm like, I'm not defending him. I'm just trying to say, there's two sides to every story. Maybe he didn't try to hit you on purpose. But the point is, I noticed I do that. Like even my oldest son had came home from school one day, and he was walking home with a girl, and the girl spit on him. And I was like, okay, first of all, that's actually illegal. Like your bodily fluids cannot, you can't use it to, fling on someone. But I started asking him, well, what did you do? He's like, what did I do? This bitch just spit on me. Like, why is this not? So I noticed I want to work on more. I always want to know both sides of the story, but I do want to be more empathetic towards people that are more closer to me. And I think it's just because I'm more comfortable saying what I want to them, to people that are close to me, than strangers. I'm not just going to say anything to a stranger.
Yeah.
But I want to get better at that. And I want to get better at, again, like I said earlier, how I say things to people. Because sometimes I know I can, and again, it's more people that are closer to me. I can be a little critical, and I can say things that are hurtful. I got diarrhea of the mouth sometimes. And I know, like I have a close friend, and she's like, you say things and then you just act like you can just be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, whatever, move on. And I'm like, well, I'm not saying intentionally to hurt you. She's like, but you said it. So I'm like, okay, well, I gotta, I want to be able to, but it's difficult because in my mind, if you say it to me, you're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Right.
I'm always like walking on eggshells, like, okay, I gotta analyze what I say to make sure it's not gonna hurt their feelings or, I don't know. So that's definitely something I am working on. So what about you?
So I feel like I've been working on it for a while, but I definitely want to work on controlling my emotions and being less reactive.
Okay, yeah.
And I feel like I've been working on that for a while, so I think I've gotten better at it, but it's a daily thing with me because I am emotional, so I have to, keep myself in check. The next thing I would say is I'm a hold stuff in type of person. So I definitely want to work on not holding things in and not being afraid to say how I really feel in the moment. I'm not one to just wild out all that much. Like if I'm in an argument or feel the confrontation coming on, because I'm really more of a non-confrontational person. I don't like conflict. Like I start to get nervous. I start to get anxious. Like I don't like that feeling. But when it does come, I'm the first one to shut down. And that's my defense mechanism. Like, all right, we're coming up. Let's just calm it down. We could talk about it later. I'm not really one to shoot off at the mouth. Every once in a while I will, but I have to know that I'm right if I'm going to do that. If there's any doubt in my mind where I'm like, well, let me think about this. Let me take, be self-aware and come out of myself and really see what this situation looks like from a different perspective, trying to take myself out of it. But other than that, sometimes going through that process, I just let it go, even though sometimes I feel like something needs to be said. So I'm working on saying something in that moment. The next thing I probably want to work on is just being consistent. I have a bad habit of starting but not finishing, or wanting perfection, and if I can't reach it, getting frustrated and kind of being like, well, it's not for me. When really, if I keep working at it, work at it, I will reach perfection, but I want it immediately. And especially if it's something I think I'm good at, you know what I mean? Or something I really want, like I want perfection. And so, I start getting crazy about that thing, which is sometimes good, but sometimes not good, because I shouldn't get so crazy about a thing and just be like, I'm done with it, And so I want to work on just being consistent because
Yeah.
I'm more of a spontaneous person and a little bit of procrastinator than I am. And it's weird because I also like to plan and have things organized, but I have both of those things going on at the same time. So if I could just make them work together, I feel like it'll be good. So
Yeah.
I'm working on that. And the only other thing I would say is just my diet. I suck at like trying to get on the right track with what I eat. And I
Yeah.
really need to. But
Yeah.
that's it. That's the things that I need to work on. And we gonna get it, girl, one way or another.
Yeah, the diet thing is a big thing for me too. And I think I use eating as coping mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's really difficult for me because especially sweets, if I'm depressed or I'm kind of down, I go to food. And it's probably because I've stopped drinking. If I were, that's crazy. And I think about that. If I was, it was easier for me to be on a diet when I was a drinker because drinking was my coping mechanism. And even smoking, I used to smoke cigarettes back in the day. So changing my diet was always easy. So I just dropped one habit or dropped two habits and picked up eating. So now it's really, I'm trying to learn how to, because the thing with, it's the diet, but for me, it's working out. Like working out is really what gets me feeling good. And when I work out, my eating automatically kind of gets better.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing, like you said, I want that immediate gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And working out, it doesn't start feeling good until I see the results. So I have to be patient, every day. Like, did I lose a pound? Are my pants getting looser?
Heck yeah. Oh my gosh, it's such a
You got about 6
struggle.
weeks. Yeah.
Ugh. Okay, well, what do you think about social media and TV and its effects on the way we think about beauty? And just, do you think it affects your life at all?
Oh, hugely. Not as much now as it did before, but very much before. Social media. I mean, when we were growing up, there wasn't really social media. I mean, we had Black Planet, but there was no
Yeah.
really pictures.
And no, most people didn't even have pictures. You had a bio.
Yeah, yeah. But there was a magazine that I used to always get. I used to get like the 17 magazine, and there was another teen magazine that I would get. But I'd also get a clothing magazine. I forgot what it was called. It started with an A. But I would get those damn magazines, and I always wanted to look like them damn girls in the magazine. And I realized I had bought one pair of pants from them finally. And they looked horrible on me because I was tall. And they're meant for, I'm taller than the average height of most women. The average height of a woman is 5'5", I think, and I'm 5'7", almost 5'8". And they didn't fit me like they fit the women on the magazine. Plus, they were all Caucasian for the most part. But I realized, I started realizing that I don't look like any of these women, but I wanted to. And when I started realizing or asking myself, why do I want to look like these women? I started thinking to myself, because there's no good representation of us anywhere else. And like you said, my mom, I will say she was a good representation, but again, her body type, I don't have my mom's body type. I have my dad's body type. People be like, oh, you got that booty from your mom. No, I didn't get it from my mama. My mama has a very flat butt. I got the booty from my daddy's side of the family. But like you said, she would, my mom wears makeup, and she doesn't wear she usually just puts on lipstick and
Mascara.
Mascara. She doesn't really do like foundation or blush or anything. She just does lipstick and mascara. She doesn't really do weave or relaxers and stuff, but she always would put on lipstick and mascara. And she was very self-conscious about her appearance too. So I think I did sort of pick that up from her, because growing up with my father, I was wearing boy clothes. I was wearing my brother hand-me-downs. My dad didn't know how to dress me, so I was just wearing all types of crazy stuff. And I never cared about it. When I started living with my mom and I started noticing how much she cared about how she looked, and she would even tell me, no, don't wear this, wear this. And when I did start wearing what she told me to wear, again, boosting my public image, I started getting more people to look at me. And it'll be like, oh, you're noticing me. So it's that. So even back then, even though we didn't have social media, getting that attention from the public opened my eyes. But it's, again, I was dressing like women in magazines. Like my mom would be like, my mom has this thing for Jordache. Ooh, you got to get some Jordache pants. I was like, what the fuck is Jordache? You don't know what Jordache is? Oh, we're going to get you some Jordache jeans. I'm like, oh. So I think it has a big influence on us. I'm not too happy with it. I think it has kind of changed. Now people are a little bit more eclectic. People are a little bit more coming up with their own, image, but still the most viewed image is like the Nicki Minaj and the Cardi B and the Kardashians, where it's big boobs, big butt, small waist, lots of makeup, long straight hair, very streamlined look, kind of like the thin nose, full lips, big slanted eyes. And yeah, I think it gives people a false sense of hope, really, because not everybody, as a matter of fact, a small majority of people look like that. The average person does not look like that.
And it's crazy because, like, it's fake at the end of the day. Like, it really, that is not what you look like. That's what you've paid a lot of money to look like, and there is a difference. But some would, have the argument of, well, if you paid the money, who cares? It is what she looks like now, regardless of if it's fake or not. And I wanted to ask this. So a little while ago, it was maybe like a couple years ago, this article or post or something happened, but Aisha Curry was in the news because she had said something like, so her husband is Steph Curry. He's a basketball player. He's very handsome. He has a lot of girls that want him. She said something like, she feels bad because nobody really wants her, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what she said. And everyone like went after her because they're like, you're a married woman. Why do you care? Blah, blah, blah. But I felt her because I was like, you know what? Being a woman that's married to a man where a lot of women want, and you're the wife of this man, which, yeah, you're content with your husband, but at the same time, you want to feel like somebody wants you too, even if you don't want them. Sometimes it's just the feeling of, I am desirable to other people. You know what I mean? Is that okay to feel like that or no? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably be one of those people to say why, because I think it comes down to confidence. If you have true confidence in yourself, you don't need validation. You don't have to have the want or the desire.
But what if you don't need it? What if you are confident within yourself, but you just want it?
Well, why do you want it?
Just because you just feel like, you want to know that you're good looking to other people, I guess. I don't know. But I'm just asking, like, is it okay to feel like that?
In my opinion, I'm not going to say it's not okay, but I would question. So I break it down like this. Anytime somebody wants something, it's because they're lacking something. I'm not a big fan of, I want it just because. There's no such thing. If you want something, it's because you don't have it. If you need something, it's for survival. If you need something, it's because you're going to die without it. You need water, you need food, you need air. But you want a boat because you don't have a boat. You want this car because you don't have a car. So if you want people's opinion, or if you want to feel wanted or want to feel sexy because you don't feel sexy, or you don't feel, that's my idea of that. We have to break down the word want. If you want something, it's because you don't have it. You can't want it just because, oh, I don't really want it. I just kind of want it, because people kind of get into that wordplay and semantics. It's like, well, no, if you want it, it's because you're not getting something. So either, in my mind, your husband's not giving you the attention. I had to look her up. She looks gorgeous to me, but
Yeah, she's beautiful.
If you have to feel wanted, either your husband's not making you feel wanted, or there's something else deeper going on. Because I don't see why else you would want that. Like, you have to have a reason for it. To me, you can't just want it just because, just because. No, it's not just because. It's something.
Just do.
That's come on now. Let's be real. Nobody just wants something just for the shits and giggles. To me, if you want something, it's because you don't have something, you're lacking something. So yeah, to me, it's no confidence. If you are desired by your husband, or even if you're not married and you're by yourself, but you still feel the need to be wanted by someone or get compliments, then there's something deep within you that you're lacking, where you have to get validation from someone else. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think that's where, everybody talks about this self-love and this, working on self and building self up. That's where that comes in, from compliments and, people kind of asking you out or looking your way. That should be extra. You shouldn't ever have to look for that. You should never have to desire that or want it or dress for it. It should be something where when it happens, you'd be like, oh, I know, thanks. Like, that was extra, But again, that's my take on it. Some people know how to spin it real good. I was listening to this one lady on a podcast, and she was talking about how getting compliments from other people boosts your self-confidence and this and that. And I'm like, how is that? How is someone else's words boosting your self-confidence? That's other self-confidence then. That's outside confidence. That's not in you. That's not coming from you. That's validation.
But let me ask you something. You said your mom told you you were beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't hear that, do you think it would have affected the way you felt about yourself?
Oh, most definitely.
Definitely. That's what I'm saying. That's what I feel like people want that for. It's because it builds you. Now, you still have to form your own way that you feel about yourself, but those things, the compliments and the building, it does help. When a man tells his wife, you're beautiful and I love you and things like that, it builds her. You know what I mean? Right. And it's necessary. So I feel like maybe it comes down to who it comes from. I don't know, but compliments are necessary.
I think so. I agree with that, and I will give you that. If it wasn't for my mom telling me how beautiful I was, I'd give a fuck about what people thought. But she really instilled in me. And it wasn't just you're beautiful. It was you're beautiful and don't give a fuck what nobody else thinks. So she built up my self-confidence. She just wouldn't say I'm beautiful because you're aesthetically pleasing. She would say you're beautiful in who you are, what you do, and she built up my self-worth. So I agree, it does depend on who it comes from, and other people can build your self-confidence to help you see the beauty in yourself. Like, that's why I said maybe her husband's not doing what he's supposed to do, because she shouldn't want to feel wanted if her husband wants her. She shouldn't need any more wanting, and I think we had talked about this before on another podcast, that, that scary word of codependency. I'm definitely pro codependency. If you're independent, the whole point of marriage is two halves becoming a whole and you leaning on each other. That's literally codependency. It's just like a symbiotic relationship. There are things that your husband can do that you can't, and there's things that you can do that your husband can't. So you depend on him for those things, and he depends on you for those things. Our husbands can't have children. We can, so they depend. So that's a type of codependency, and people think it's a big scary word, but it's not. You still have some things that are separate, but they add value to your, to your significant other or whatever. And so I think I agree with what you say, when depending on who it is can help build up who your confidence and your self-worth. But at the end of the day, anybody else's words outside of that shouldn't matter. You shouldn't want to hear from other men outside of your husband, or other women outside of maybe your close friends and sisters, or, what have you. And you shouldn't want it all the time. After a while now, I'm like, again, it's extra. If I have somebody come tell me, oh, I like your hair, I like this, and I don't say it to their face like, okay, thank you, I already knew that, but I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that, but I know that about myself. But again, I make sure I don't bleed over to arrogance to where you ain't got to tell me, or somebody be like, man, your shoes looking kind of rusty. No, they ain't. I know my shoes. I still like, oh, damn, am I looking kind of fucked up? Or do I got to check myself? I still have the awareness, like you said, to step back and be like, is there something wrong? So, yeah, in my opinion, I think it's something that shouldn't be. I don't think people should look outside of themselves or anybody else outside of their close circle for compliments or validation or, boosting of your self-confidence.
All right. So we have rolled right into our A Million Opinions segment. And for today, we're just going to talk about pretty privilege, because we pretty much today we're talking about flaws and just being vulnerable. And we came across this pretty privilege definition, and we both thought it was something that went really good with the topics we were talking about today, because pretty privilege is kind of when someone gains privilege because of how they look and how other people deem them to look, or feel that they should have other extra privileges because of just outer appearances.
Right.
What do you think about pretty privilege?
So when we were talking about this, and I found a little quote, and it says, I'll just read. It says, pretty privilege or beauty bias is real, but can it be unlearned? Here's I'm reading the. Let me skip down to the actual, they popped right up. So it says, pretty privilege works on the principle that people who are deemed more attractive based on accepted social beauty standards. So this is the majority of, what most people think. They have the upper hand at receiving things that other people don't. So, and I've seen firsthand examples of this. Again, I've had friends that are, and I like how they put it, I've had friends that are considered prettier than I am by the accepted social beauty standards of society. And I've seen it to where they've received things solely based off their looks, like free stuff, door getting open for them, hell, I almost expect the one guy to take off his coat and slap it over a puddle and be like, let me help you cross this. And, but here's the thing that's scary. So I have a friend, like I said, she's very, very attractive. She tells me it's very difficult to know who's being nice to her because of her beauty or because of who she is. Not only that, she's gotten through life a lot easier. So the depths of her, and she's told me this stuff, she's like, who she is, the depths of her doesn't really exist. She's shallow. She's pretty shallow. And she had to learn that the hard way. She had to learn that from the way guys treated her, because guys treated her like a trophy. Sit there, shut up, and be pretty. Don't have an opinion. I don't need you to talk. I just need you to do what you, I don't want to say we're born to do, but you're very pretty. So I just need you to sit there and do that. Just be pretty. And I didn't know, she had to really go through some stuff, but to me, it validated that exists, that she had privilege. She said people pay for her food all the time. She goes somewhere, people pay for her food, open the door, do all types of stuff. And yeah, I ain't getting none of that. And I don't think that I'm unattractive, but again, according to the beauty standards of the current societal norms, I don't fit in that category. And I'm perfectly okay with it, because I've noticed people, I fall into the you look like a nerd, you must be smart category. I fall into that category because I get a lot of people who ask me questions like I know what I'm supposed to be talking about, which kind of forced me into learning things, because people, hey, you got the question in number 7. I'm like, I'm dumb as you are. Like, how you? But I just had to look like, you must be smart. You
look smart.
Well, but that's the thing. How you look kind of forces you into this mold, which I didn't like that either. Like, I used to wear glasses and braces. So I got the real nerd geeky look where you must know shit. And I'm like, baby, this is C student all the way through high school and college. But from that, when I was in the military, I would have so many people come to me with questions about stuff. It would force me to learn. It would force me to learn certain things. It would force me to talk a certain way. Like, talking ghetto doesn't fit my face. It really doesn't. I remember I was call myself trying to talk ghetto, and people be like, that sound does not look right with your face.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that pretty privilege definitely exists. There are women out there who, and to me, naturally pretty. Like the friend I'm talking about, she rarely wears makeup. She wears lip gloss from time to time. She's naturally she doesn't have any type of, enhancements or anything like that. She's naturally a beautiful person, and she gets a lot of stuff. I mean, she told me she had an apartment one time and got her first 3 months rent free because she was like, I was just, but she would change her voice too. Like when her voice is about as deep as mine, but when I hear her talk to people, it go up like 3-4 octaves. Hi, I'm like, oh my God. They used to work my nerve, but we ain't gonna get into that.
It's interesting that you said that she lacks depth. Yes. Because of the pretty privilege. So it really is just an outwardly an appearance that you're getting all these things, and you're taking a hit at your personal self because of it. And I wonder if people who have this pretty privilege are aware of that, or if they care, So I feel like I felt pretty privileged, but I have, I will get more attention, and I've never had an apartment paid for me or anything, but I have got a little bit more things when I do the makeup and the outfit and the hair and the whole 6 hours to build this other person of me. I have felt a little bit more privileged as that person, but at the end of the day, I know that ain't me. I know I'm presenting someone else, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't get stuck on that. And I have plenty of depth because I've never stayed one-dimensional. I don't feel like I have to look a certain way. I'm okay with wearing a wig and makeup this day, and wearing a hat and no makeup this day. It's just like I can be both because I'm secure with who I am. But I almost feel bad for those people, because it's not necessarily their fault, because at the end of the day, who's giving them this privilege?
Right. Right.
You
And
know
what
what
are
I
they
mean?
looking, what are they looking for from it?
Yeah, in exchange for it. Like, I'm giving you
Right.
privilege, but what are you having to pay in to get that?
Right. Because nothing is free. And so that's what the friend that I don't know. I think some women, like I said, my friend, she realized it about herself because I think we were just having a conversation and she said that about me. She was like, damn, you're real deep and you're this and you're that. And she was like, I don't have that. And at the time, I didn't know why, or we didn't know why, but she kind of, I guess came into it on her own and she told me. I think it came from so many men that she dated would kind of tell her the same thing, she would, because she, even though she was, very pretty and she didn't have much depth, I think she wanted it. And she would always ask guys, well, what do you like about me? And of course, it's always the same answer. Well, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. And she's like, well, what else? And it was like blank stares. Like, does there need to be something else? You're beautiful. That's, all they need. And I think she didn't like that. She wanted more to her. She wanted to be, I don't know. But she just wanted more for herself, which I thought was a really good thing.
Yeah.
I thought was a really good thing.
But how do you develop depth?
Um,
Like, will she have to like start rejecting these offers, or like, where do you go from there?
that's a good question because, again, I hate to say this, but for average look people like me, depth comes pretty naturally. Like, you have time to
I agree.
reflect. You have time to reflect and learn about yourself because people aren't always in your face. Even I feel bad for, me and my husband were talking about this, women with big breasts. I'm like, I don't have big breasts. So I see it when men talk to women with big breasts and they're just staring at their breasts.
Yeah.
Since I don't have big breasts, I've never gotten that. Men always look me in my eye.
Yeah,
Like there's
I
nothing
agree.
else. But I have had it to where I've been walking away and I'll turn around and I catch them staring at my butt because I got a big butt. But I realized, wow, that's crazy because there's some women who have to deal with, and I'm talking about even women who with big breasts and not they haven't pushed up and out, but they'll have like a regular shirt on, but because they're so heavy up top,
Mm-hmm.
even for me, I've caught myself like, damn, your titties are huge as hell. Like, and I feel bad because you can't put your 100% focus on them. So I think with women that are very pretty, they may have that too. Like, so they may be talking about something that has absolutely, like, it could be the dumbest thing in the world and people are going to laugh. People are going to, and they realize, I don't know if this is, what they go through, but yeah, finding depth it's a lot more difficult than finding some, confidence, being confident and having
Yeah, 'cause it's
self-esteem.
like life experiences that gives you that.
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah.
lacking that, it's like, you know, but I
Yeah,
do feel like pretty privilege is a choice,
it
because
is.
you don't have to accept the privilege. And I mean, I can understand if this is just your face and it's just being given to you, but at the same time, you do have to wager, what are you giving up for it?
Yeah. And like you said, it's a choice. I think nowadays, even for, like you said, now you can put on makeup and all this and be a whole totally different person. It was one time I had one day of it. I'll say one day because I can count on probably both hands how many times I've worn makeup um and nails. Now I used to wear braids a lot, but as far as makeup and like acrylic nails, I've very seldomly. But one time I went to Vegas and the girls I went with talked me into putting makeup on me. Um, I don't know why. I always felt like I do. I feel like I look like a clown with makeup on. But so they put makeup on me and it turned out all right. You know what makes me feel like I look like a clown? The blush. I can't do that blush. I'm too dark for blush. Some dark skinned women can get away with it, but I feel like, so I said, y'all, whatever you want me, but don't put that pink crap on my face, red, whatever, because in real life, I don't blush. you're not going to see my cheeks turn red. So anyway, so they did my face up. Yeah. So they did my face up and it turned out really good. I was like, oh, I look like a different person.
Yeah.
I was like, who the fuck is this? But it felt so unreal. You know,
did you get more attention like that?
I did. That's why I said for one day I got that pretty privilege and it felt great and horrible all at the same time.
Because you know what it's for?
Yeah, well, one, because it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It felt fake. It felt very fake.
Catfishing.
Yeah, it felt guys were like falling over me and, oh, let me, and I'm like, oh shit, is this what they gotta go through every day? Which if I look like that naturally, I can be like, okay, cool. But I don't look like this naturally.
Right.
This is something that I've enhanced my looks with. But again, also it was like this one guy was talking to me and I'm sitting there with my depth and we're having a conversation and he was listening to nothing I was saying. Nothing. We were talking and I don't even remember what we're talking about, but he's looking at me and it cuts me off. Your eyes are so gorgeous. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. We get back to talking, cuts me off again. Oh, your lips look so soft. I'm like, are you listening to anything I'm saying?
No,
like,
he's mentally fucking you.
So like, I couldn't imagine going through life and having to go through that, where people look at you for face value only. And because you have this aesthetically pleasing face, they're only complimenting you. They're not really listening to nothing you're saying. It's like a diamond. A diamond is aesthetically pleasing to look at, but not a lot of people know the uses of a diamond and how useful it is because they're too busy, ooh, girl,
That's true. I like that analogy.
Yeah, diamonds are they're extremely useful. They're using all types of cutting materials and everything. A lot of people don't know that because they're too busy looking at it.
I'm off.
Yeah. But I realized I couldn't live my life like that. That would be very difficult to go through my life where people don't really listen to me or take me seriously because they're too busy looking at my beauty. Like if Nicki Minaj or the Kardashians or Cardi B, if any of these people came up to me, I would not take any of them seriously. Not at all. Like nothing that comes out of their mouth, I couldn't take them seriously. I just couldn't.
Right, because we know how they all used to look.
Right. And I will say, Nicki Minaj, aside from all the crap she had done to her body, she seems like one of the few ones, and even Cardi B, because I'm just started looking into her, their face looks mostly the same to me, but they just got all the other enhancements on their body.
Yeah, and the teeth and shit like that. Yeah.
But they seemed fairly, like they showed some pictures of Nicki Minaj when she was younger, and she looked pretty. Like I don't know why you.
And that's the thing. It really be us that don't feel pretty, and sometimes it's not the outward. It's something that then got into our psyche that makes you believe that you're not beautiful because of this, because of your nose, because of your lips, because your body's flat, because you ain't got no ass or no titties or your hair is thin. It's like these things that go through, and it's crazy because it can happen to you like in middle school, but it'll stick with you. Some of these things are damaging things, and it takes rebuilding. That's why I feel like those, how you're raised and those compliments, in those times are really important. But I do understand getting them from anyone outside source that's not, that has intentions for you, right? Yeah. I do understand how that could be a little conflicting, but at the same time, it's like this pretty privilege is like, and it's crazy because I feel like it even happens amongst women. I feel like other women even like hiring. Let's take hiring, for example.
Yes.
Women want to hire the pretty girl. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so if you're going to interview and it's a woman that you're interviewing with, it just I feel like, let's say you got a pretty girl, a girl that's average, and an overweight girl. I feel like the pretty girl is going to be the front runner, even if these other two girls have more experience. So
Yep.
it goes over, just not even just with men, even with women, with social situations, with business situations. Like, it's everywhere. And as long as that's there, it is going to be hard for women to be like, I'm okay just being me, just walking out with my two-strand twist, looking crazy with my big forehead. Like, it's way harder.
Yeah. And you know, the thing that you mentioned, like what you were going through in middle school, again, that carries on into high school and adulthood. So you have these women, and I don't know if this was the exact reason, you know, that your friend, but to me, in my mind, what I would see was friendships breaking up because one girl, like you said, she was very pretty, wants to go hang with other pretty girls.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing I've seen in like I've heard it at work. When I was working at the state, working for the state, it was predominantly women. And I can't hang with her unless she's pretty. You know, what? What does that have to do with anything? That
I
used to
don't
blow
know.
my mind that women are so much more critical of other women and their looks. You will not hang out with this person because you don't think they're pretty enough.
And you know, no one wants to be the ugly friend or the ugly sister or the ugliest one. So it is a stigma around all that shit. Me personally, I never looked for friends as far as what they look like. Now, all my friends I feel are beautiful, but we made friends, we had common interests. And some of those
Yeah.
interests were hair and makeup because we were into that shit. But it wasn't like I was like, I can't be friends with you because of this, or I never thought of that, you know?
Mhm.
So it's crazy that that's out there, but it is, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's a real thing. And I wonder if these kids that are growing up have to deal with it as much. And I say that because I felt like when we went to school, it was very much not really racially divided, but you kind of had like,
Yeah.
you know,
No, it was.
groups, you know? But nowadays, one, I feel like there's a lot more mixed kids. A
Yeah.
lot more people are interracially
It's
dating,
more
and
inclusion. Yeah.
it's not as, you know, stigmatic anymore. And then the other thing is just the way the younger generation is, period. I wonder if they even give a fuck about race or give a fuck about pretty or this and that. I wonder if it's still like that, because I'm out of touch. I don't have kids. I'm not in middle school or high school. Haven't been to a school in years. So I don't know what they're going through, but I wonder if it's still like that.
It is, but it isn't. So I saw it a little bit with my oldest, because my oldest still goes to school, but you know, my younger kids are homeschooled. So I noticed his friends in elementary school started shifting in middle school. And it was more like his friends in elementary school were all races, all looks, all, you know, little kids don't give a damn. You know,
Right.
they just try to play. But as he started getting into middle school, he did start hanging out with more people that look like him. And I consider my oldest, you know, all my kids, everybody thinks that all their kids are fine, but you know, my oldest is fine. No, but
He is
he
very
is,
handsome.
no, he is, I used to think that about, so even with my son, I would always, or all my kids, you know, I always tell them, like my mom told me, you know, you're beautiful no matter what. You know, you're beautiful for who you are, not just what you look like. But with my son, I actually had to, because I found out he was attractive when he hit 12. He started growing facial hair and stuff. And there were older women that started hitting on him. As a matter of fact, we were walking, and once he even started getting close to my height, I know older women my age started trying to look at him. So I'm like, oh, he really is attractive, you know? Um, Even when I would take him to school, you know, everybody, I'm like, oh, shit, he like the popular kid, you know? He would, hey, wait, you know, I ain't gonna say, I mean, I was like, oh, okay, what? I didn't have that. I didn't know what that was like. And
Yeah.
he's so humble though, because he tells me, he's like, no, I hang with the kids that aren't as popular, because it's not about what you look like. And I was so proud of him. He's like, it's
Aw.
not about what you look like. He's always been protective of the underdog. He's always been protective of the underdog. And I love that about him, because I try to very much instill in him what you look like does not, because men have pretty privilege too.
Yeah.
Men have
No,
pretty privilege too.
I think theirs is worse.
Yes. Men. So I wanted to instill that in him. But I definitely think they still have that, but it's not it's not as segregated as it was for us. I know we didn't go through like real racism and things like that, but like you said,
Right.
there was some segregation.
Yes, there definitely was.
Right. But for them, it's still more cliquish, but it's more cliquish, not with like jocks and stuff like that. I think it's more cliquish with this new genre difference, like what type of music you're listening to.
Or if you like
It's
anime or something like that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it's still cliquish, but it's different from our cliquish. And even my oldest son, he's like, I forgot what he called the group of people. He was like, Mom, you'd be one of these people. And I was like, what? Because I'm into astrology and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, you'd be hanging with them. And I was like, okay, I guess. So they still have these cliques, but they're definitely not based on looks as much as it was for us, because I've seen some of the girls that my son likes, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. But and they're not unattractive or anything, but it's not what I would expect. It's just not, it wasn't what I expected, for a high schooler. He likes chunky girls.
But is he really thin?
Yeah, he's
Because I
thick.
find that really thin men like thicker girls. Like it never fails. Like, and I mean big girls sometimes even. And it's like the bigger dudes like little girls. But you know how everybody wants the opposite? Like if your hair is curly, you want straight hair. If your hair is, red, you want black hair. If your hair is blonde, you want it. Everybody does that. Everyone kind of it opposites attract. That's really what it is.
That's true, because he
Gotta be,
is.
because I've seen that my whole life. Really thin dudes love a fat bitch.
I guess I've never thought about that, because I've never been really attracted to big. I'm not like super skinny, but I've never been attracted to like bigger guys.
I am. You gotta have some
Yeah,
meat
I'm
on
not.
you for me. I can't do a skinny dude.
Well, I will say that I'm not attracted to real skinny men. I don't. But I'm not really. Looks don't really me. Because I've dated really skinny men. I've dated really fat men.
I've
It
only
was never.
dated fat men. Nah. I've dated different types of men, but I never went far with a skinny guy.
Yeah.
We're not having sex, and we're probably not even kissing. We're hanging out, and I'm realizing like I can't do it.
Yeah. But that shocked me. He's athletic, so he's not just thin. He's a pretty athletic kid. But he likes his women thick, and I do still think colorism exists for them, because I asked him one time, because a lot of the girls that he does, I guess, they date or flirt or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, they are they tend to be lighter skinned. And I asked him, like, do you like dark skinned women? He said, yeah, but they won't talk to me. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, he like one time, girl, I got into that Instagram when he wasn't supposed to have it, and it was just a bunch of women. It was just a bunch of models, which I was happy about. I was like, I mean, to each their own, but I'm glad it was a whole bunch of women and not like, a whole bunch of men. A whole bunch of big booty women, and they were, different races and stuff. Most of them were like dark women. I was like, yes, because I like the chocolate. And he's very dark skinned himself.
Yeah.
But his little girlfriends or friends, whatever, are tend to be on the lighter side. And I'm like, why do you only date lighter skinned women? Or like these? And he's like, because they like me. He's like, Mom, these women approach me. I don't approach them. But the ones that I do like, the darker skin, he was like, they ain't trying to stunt me. And I'm like, really? So that still exists to me, you know, because I went through that where I was attracted to dark skinned men in, you know, high school, college, middle school. They weren't attracted to me.
Really?
I would get Caucasians and light skinned dudes attracted to me easily, but dark skinned dudes.
You know what? I've had every skin tone. I've always preferred like kind of in the middle to darker. I've never really just dated a super light skinned dude, but I've always struggled with trying to figure out what my color was. Because I remember like when we had Black Planet and I would describe what color I was, I'd say like I'm a light brown. You know what I mean? Because I felt like there was darker shades of brown than me. And then I remember I had like a little, you know, Black Planet boyfriend, and we met at the movies on my birthday. And the first thing he said was, "You're a lot darker than I thought you were gonna be." And I was like, huh? Like it threw me off guard. And I'm like, but do you think I'm cute? You know, like, do you still want to hang out? Because it's my first time meeting you, and this is what you're saying, you know? So, you know, we watched the movie or whatever, and afterwards we still talked on the phone, but it was different after that. So I knew that once he seen me, and because he never thought I was ugly or anything like that. His only comment was, "I didn't think you were going to be that dark." And he was like, "I thought you said you were light brown." I was like, "Well, I am, because, you know, there's other shades of, there's, you know, light brown, and then you have brown, and then you have dark brown. And I feel like I'm and so it confused me. I'm like, I don't know what color I am. Am I a dark skinned woman? Because I never really, I guess, put myself in a box until I was put in one. And this dude straight up told me, like, you're a dark skinned woman. You're not light brown. I thought you were going to be light skinned. You're not. And now I'm uninterested. And I was just like, well, damn, I didn't even
and you know
know.
what? And you know what? I found out, I've always considered myself dark skinned, always. And I say that, and I think for me, it comes from because my sister is very light skinned. She's very light skinned. She's yellow. She's very light skinned. So comparing myself, not comparing myself, but growing up, and she's much older than me. But when I saw her, I think she's 14 or 15 years older than me. But when I saw her, and even my grandmother is lighter than me too. Maybe my dad's a little bit lighter than me. So seeing all these people that to me were light skinned, I automatically assumed I was dark skinned. And it was funny. It wasn't until I met my husband. My husband is the first person who called me light skinned. He's like, "Oh no, you ain't dark skinned." I mean, he didn't call me light skinned, but he was like, "You lighter than me. Anybody lighter than me is light skinned."
Yeah.
But I always considered myself a dark chocolate. He's like, "Nah, chocolate, but you ain't dark chocolate."
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I thought. I'm like, see, you have milk chocolate, you have, you know, cocoa chocolate, and then you have dark chocolate. So I'm like, I'm not light brown. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, this
yeah,
was several years ago. I don't think about it now. I consider myself a dark-skinned woman. I never had a problem being a dark-skinned woman, but I was that dark-skinned woman that guys would say, "You're pretty for a dark-skinned girl." And
yeah,
I'd just be like, the fuck does that mean? You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So I'm like, am I attractive or not? I don't know, because I can't get the two separated. It's always, you're pretty, but you have acne,
Oh,
or you're pretty for a dark skinned girl, or you're
you-
pretty for a short girl. It was just like,
really?
yeah. Hmm.
I'm not. Well, I'm not. Wow, you're pretty for a short girl.
Yeah. So I'm like, is
Wow.
this just your preference and you're putting that shit on me? Because am I cute or not?
Yeah,
That's all I want to know. And which
yeah. I've
I thought I
definitely.
was, you know, so I wasn't really looking to be validated, but it was just like the way that it would come about would always have me being like, why is there a
Yeah,
box after "you're
yeah,
pretty"?
yeah,
What does that even mean? You know?
yeah. And that colorism, I think, causes the biggest rift in our community, especially with the women, you know, especially with the women, because I've gotten that too. You're pretty for a dark skinned girl. You're pretty for a dark skinned. Like, why do I have to be pretty for a dark skinned girl? Why can't I just be pretty because I'm pretty? You
Yeah.
know, you never hear light skinned women, you're pretty for a light-skinned girl.
Nah, you're not going to hear that.
As a matter of fact,
and that's weird because I don't think all light-skinned girls are pretty.
No,
you know, you have ugly in every, I mean, I don't want to say ugly because of course beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but you have physically attractive or non-attractive in every fucking shade.
But here's the thing that I found out. Light-skinned women, even if they're considered unattractive by societal standards, are still considered more attractive than dark-skinned women. It's the crap that you see on TV, and they're trying to change it. They are trying to change the narrative, but not really. But it's like, here's the thing that I'm not the biggest fan of. You don't see too many dark-skinned women being represented with natural, unless it's a commercial for hair products. Name me one famous person that rocks their natural hair all the time that's dark-skinned.
All I can think of is Wanda Sykes, but I don't even think she's dark-skinned.
Oh, no, right. But you'll see light-skinned women rocking their natural hair. The only person I can think of that rocks their natural hair is Janelle Monáe. Oh my goodness, I love Janelle Monáe. She's darker skinned. She's probably, a little bit, maybe your complexion. But she always rocks her natural hair. Yeah. She did. I as far as I know, I've never, unless she's in some videos, she might have like a wig on, but for the most part, she has her natural hair. But most of the times, like, I think Gabrielle Union is absolutely gorgeous, but she's always got straight freaking hair on her head.
Yeah, and I'm really trying to think of one, and I can't. I'm really like dark skin. I'm thinking of some, but they're not dark skin. So I'm like, Pam Grier, but is she dark skin? I don't even know.
Yeah, the most pretty, let me tell you who I think is absolutely gorgeous. I want to make sure I get her name right. I mean, I think she is like drop dead, just beautiful. And she's very dark skinned. She's a beautiful, a phenomenal actress, Viola Davis.
I was going to say Viola Davis, but I kept remembering her in How to Get Away with Murder with that damn wig on. So I was like, nah, she be wearing wigs.
Yes, absolutely beautiful.
I love
But always got straight hair. Mm-hmm. Always got straight hair. And it's usually the lighter skinned women who wear more natural hair, or wearing curly hair like us. So that, colorism definitely is very much prevalent, and I'm not a big fan of it. And the funny thing is, that's what really gave me a lot of confidence, because when I went natural, like, it was scary at first because I was so used to wearing, I hardly ever got compliments when my hair was relaxed. Hardly ever. I never got compliments on my hair. Every once in a good while when I got it done. But when I started wearing it natural, I mean, talk about the influx of compliments, and it's crazy. I'm like, how come we are not wearing our natural hair? When it looks
because when I first started wearing my natural hair, I was so surprised. I'm like, I don't even know what my natural hair looks like, because my whole life I had relaxers. So when it started growing in, I'm like, what is this? Like, pull a piece, like, didn't even know, but I did like it. But it took a while for me to get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't my norm.
I will say I was lucky because I didn't get relaxers until I was, my stepmom got my first relaxer, and then my mom was pissed about it. So she had me revert back, but my mom still hot combed my hair, in high school and stuff. That was my natural hair, but she would hot comb it straight. And so I didn't know what I knew what my hair texture was like. Because when I was a kid, I didn't get relaxers and but when I didn't start wearing it naturally as it was always manipulated somehow, with heat. I didn't wear it naturally as it was until college. And I found out that, my curl pattern, and actually people think my hair, they say, oh, your hair is so thick. And I love that your mom says that. I don't like thick or thin either, because my hair strands are actually very fine as well. I just have a crap ton of them. Mm-hmm. My hair, I just have
density. So you have density.
Right. I have a lot of density, but my actual strands of hair are actually really thin, or at least
Fine.
yeah, fine. I'm sorry, fine. At least my edges, like from here back, it's only like the crown of my head, where it's like the hairs are like pencils, super thick. But for the most part, I just have a lot of it. But I'm shocked when I started wearing it. You know, our women look really gorgeous.
Absolutely. Yes.
I don't like the fact that colorism. I think that still exists today, even with the kids, even with the young kids.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna pray for them. Let's lead us right on into our altar call, which today our altar call is just gonna be for all of our viewers because everyone has flaws. Thank you for listening to me and Nicole talk about ours. We shared a lot of stuff today. We got very vulnerable. Don't be making fun of us. We are sensitive. We are water signs. But we are happy to share these things with you because, you know, hopefully we can help someone who might have been going through some things or, you know, has pretty privilege and is wanting depth. You know, maybe we brought something to the forefront that you hadn't really thought about before, you know, and it's really important that you do have self-esteem and self-confidence and you love yourself, how you are with no makeup and no hair and no nothing, which it might be hard because there is a standard of beauty that's out there that might not match what you look like naturally. But guess what? That's what God gave you. So you got to love it. You got to embrace it. And just know that that's you. You don't want to be catfishing your whole life. So, you know, you want to get a husband or friends and people around you who know the real you. So don't be scared to be that person.
Right. And even for the pretty privilegers, you know, that standard of beauty doesn't last forever, excuse me. You know, we all get wrinkles at some point in time in our life. So, you know, find that depth, find who you are. You know, like Lenee was saying, find that confidence and self-worth and that deeper understanding of yourself. So as you get older, you can age gracefully, you know, and not just be solely depending on what you look like, because looks do not last forever. But yeah, definitely, you know, have that confidence, know that you're beautiful, not just with what you look like, but you know, who you are and what you can bring to the table, your attributes, your personality, you know, all that good stuff. Love yourself, girl. And guys.
Absolutely. Everybody love yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in to us today. This was episode 8.
8.
Episode 8. Episode 8. All right. We're going to see y'all next time. We love y'all. Peace and love. Bye.